muscles want it for fuel. You store carb in your muscles. You store a little carb in your liver. Your liver stores this carb to keep your blood sugar stable, and your muscles store this carb so the muscle can move. So we always want to make sure our carbohydrate gas tank is full. And so athletes specifically need to make sure that carbohydrate gas tank is full. So that's why I keep talking about portable foods, because I know so many athletes that don't have time to eat breakfast, or I don't have time to eat quick after school, or I don't have time. Well, guess what? We got to make time, so let's find some of these portable foods that you will like, that you can eat, because if your gas tank is always full, you will delay fatigue. You will perform well, not only in the first quarter, but in the fourth quarter. You will do better, you'll feel better. So this is our master fuel. I got all kinds of sources. Bread, bagels, that's easy to grab. Waffles and pancakes, you'll see those on lots of slides. Those can be carried without, needing any syrup. Make a bunch of extra ones, throw them in a bag, throw them in a lunchbox, throw them in a locker, grab and go. Sweet potatoes, I got a lot of athletes that I've told in the past, make a bunch of sweet potatoes, especially my collegiate athletes, make a bunch of sweet potatoes, and you walk across campus eating that sweet potato. It is portable, actually. And so is the white potato. We've got rice, we've got fruit, we've got oatmeal, Triscuits are a nice whole grain, we've got pasta, wraps, and pineapple soup. Every food group is carb besides meat. So milk is carb, yogurt is carb, fruit is carb, veggies have carb, grains have carb, starchy vegetables have carb. The only thing that doesn't have carb is like steak, and chicken, and fish, those kinds of things. So carb must be a good thing if it is in 4 of the 5 food groups. Now fat doesn't have carb either, I should say, like olive oil doesn't have carb. But for the most part, carbs in all our food groups. So carb is important, master fuel. One other thing I want to say about carb real quick is the faster you're moving, the more you're using carb. And if you're in high intensity stop and go sports, this is the fuel you're using. Right now, sitting in this room, or sitting at home, wherever you're watching, because you're sitting, you're calm, you're burning about 60% fat and 40% carb. But if you got up out of your chair, and you start walking around, you've kind of got an excited state, and now you're going to start burning carb. And if you started to jog around the room, now you're going to start burning more carb. And if you started to sprint until you couldn't sprint any faster, now you're burning just carb. So your body's always in this tandem of carb and fat being burned, and it just depends on the speed in which you're moving, which of those nutrients are being used more. The nutrient that shouldn't ever be used for fuel is protein. You are protein. Your muscles are protein, and you use the building blocks of protein to make things like antibodies, enzymes, hormones. So like we are protein. The only time you use protein for fuel is when you are either under fueled, so you're not eating enough calories, or you are exercising beyond 2 hours. Okay? But hopefully you've tapped your carb stores nice and high, you fed them so that you enter that activity in a nice fueled state. You've got your master fuel, carbohydrate, so you delay the use of that protein for fuel. You don't want to use protein for fuel. And when we eat protein, we want it from food. Food first, always. No matter if you're an athlete or not, I will always say food first before supplement. Because the food you eat have a lot of different nutrients in the food, a lot of vitamins, a lot of minerals, a lot of plant properties, or that will allow you to get more than just whatever's in the supplement. So we want food first. We don't really use protein for fuel unless we are, again, under-fueled. So if I'm entering exercise with not enough calories, all of a sudden my body will start breaking down protein to become carb. We don't want that. We want to spare the body from using protein for fuel. You're trying to work a muscle, you don't want to break down the muscle. Protein also repairs muscles. It is used for muscle protein synthesis, which means creation of that muscle protein. And we want to spread it throughout the day. So what we know is that we have protein, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and some snacks thrown in. We're going to do a really good job of preserving muscle mass, especially as we age for parents. But for kids too, we want to just kind of have that protein throughout the day and not just at the bottom of the day, like for dinner, that kind of a thing. In terms of repair, let's talk about this right here on this slide. We're going to talk about, throughout this presentation, timing of nutrients before and during sport. The one slide I didn't put up here is after sport. And so when we talk about protein repairing muscle, after exercise, we want to have some protein and carb combo. Still more carb. It's a ratio of 3 or 4 grams of carb to 1 gram of protein. So carb is still the master fuel, even when I'm done exercising the muscle, and now it's time to build the muscle. Because exercise breaks down the muscle, and the recovery phase is what builds the muscle. So I want to have some protein in the recovery phase to build the muscle, but I need more carb than protein, believe it or not. The ratio is 3 or 4 grams of carb to 1 gram of protein. So what does that mean in terms of the amount of protein I need to eat post-workout? The amount of protein I need to eat post-workout is about, for young people, 20 to 25 grams. Maybe you have that an hour after you work out, you go home, you have dinner. An hour after your practice, you go home, you have dinner. That kind of thing. 20 to 25 grams of protein, you can get that in a couple cups of chocolate milk with a turkey sandwich. Okay, but you need 3 times that in the amount of carbohydrate. So you have some bread with that sandwich, you have some fruit with that sandwich, and that chocolate milk also has carbohydrate in it, or the chocolate soy milk. So while protein is important for repairing muscle and muscle protein synthesis post-workout, it's interesting that carb is even more important post-workout because we want to put back that stored carb, that stored gas tank in the body. Okay? I've got some good protein sources up here. Peanut butter, that's quick and easy. If you like peanut butter, if you can tolerate peanut butter, don't have an allergy, then that's a really easy protein source. Because peanut butter bagel needs no refrigeration. Peanut butter sandwich needs no refrigeration. Little packs of peanut butter they sell now with the lid you can peel off, with some celery, with some carrots, something along those lines. Can be packed and easy to take. I also put up there just regular old milk. This is string cheese, that's very portable. This hard-boiled eggs, parents can make a bunch of those. Kids can grab them and go. Very portable. This is like yogurt parfaits. Greek yogurt is a great source of high-quality protein, as is cottage cheese. And that's what that is right there. There's our chocolate milk. A lot of research behind chocolate milk post-workout. A couple cups of that post-workout gives you the carb-protein ratio we're looking for the build the gas tank back up with carb and repair the muscle with protein. Then I have these. Again, quick, easy. You peel back the thing and eat it out of the pouch. I do it at work all the time, literally. So great high-quality protein right there in most of the pack. So fat. We use fat for an energy source, right? We just talked about that a little bit ago. Healthy fats are good. We don't want somebody on a no-fat meal plan. Fat gives you fat-soluble vitamins, which are vitamins A, D, E, and K. Fat gives you essential fats like omega-3 fat, which is anti-inflammatory. We need fat. We even need fat for healthy thoughts. Like if people take their fat intake too low, below the recommendations for the dietary guidelines for Americans, then they might start to have changed behaviors, changed mental status, aggressive behaviors. Like fat is a good thing. It helps the brain cells talk to each other. It gives us some nutrients we need. Matter of fact, if I've got athletes that need to gain weight, I'm going to go to healthy fat and healthy carbs to help them gain weight more than anything. Because I don't want them to gain weight with a bunch of milkshakes and french fries. That's not healthy, right? We're saying eat to excel, eat for life. So I want to learn what are healthy fats. And so if I have someone who needs to gain weight, I'll say, oh, avocado's not real big. It's like a pear. Probably less than a pear because it has a big seed in it. That's about 250 calories. A fifth of an avocado is a serving. So I got someone trying to lose weight as an adult. Maybe I'll say, watch your portion of avocado. I got a kid trying to gain some weight. I'll be like, oh, eat an avocado if you like it. Okay? Healthy fat. That actually is the kind of fat that can help your cholesterol levels be good. Olives. Another super healthy fat. And at the Acme in Montrose, they have the olives that come in individual packs with the peel-back lid. Portable, real easy. Or you can buy them in bulk and put them in your own little containers. These are nuts. And again, there's this edamame, that miniature soybean, high-quality protein, also anti-inflammatory. So fats are good. And we want to include those throughout the day as well. So those are our big calorie-providing nutrients, carb, protein, and fat. We know we use carb and we use fat for fuel. We know we use carb more when we're stop and go, high intensity, trying to move fast. Okay? We know carb is the master fuel. We can store it in the body. We want to keep the gas tank full. We know we're going to use protein only if we're in really long duration sport or we haven't fueled properly. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the timing of these nutrients. We talked about how we can get those nutrients, what are some portable, easy food sources, and now the timing. So before a hard practice or competition, the rule of thumb would be the farther out you are from go time, the more you can eat. Because if you ate too much too soon, like right before go time, you've got a problem. Because now your muscles are competing for blood and your gut is competing for blood to digest the food. So we're going to get some cramping occur. You want to avoid that. So what I would say for kids, like if you're at lunch and you know you've got a big game coming up at the end of the day, but you don't have time to eat 2 lunches. And I'm getting ahead of myself because we're going to have a slide that talks about that. Double up your portions at lunch and there's some tricks you can do like that. But if you have more time before, so I did the Akron Marathon, and what I'll do is get up at like 4 in the morning to eat a lot of food, or 3 in the morning to eat a lot of food, and then go back to bed until I have to get up a little bit later and get myself to the race. Because I know that if I got up right before, even though I tried to eat a lot of carbs the night before, probably the week before, if I got up right before and just tried to top off my carb stores, I might not have enough prepared or put back in me, because when I slept at night, the carb stores go down. So I will get up real early, eat some carb, go back to bed, and then get up later, top it off with a little less carb. Okay? So, rule of thumb, 3 to 4 hours before go time, we can have all 3 nutrients because I've got enough time to digest all 3. I can have carb, I can have protein and fat. Protein and fat take longer to digest, which is why we don't have them closer to go time. And so I put some examples of some healthy options. Could be something as simple as a turkey stuffed sandwich with baked chips and fruit, grilled chicken wrap with pretzels and low-fat milk, pasta with lean meatballs. You see, everything is lean. It's not something that's unhealthy. That wouldn't be something you can have to prevent disease. All these things are also going to contribute to not, or help with not contributing to chronic disease. The other thing I put on all of my slides is training your gut. Whatever you do on practice day with food and fluid and learn to tolerate is what you should do on game day. You never want to try some new food or fluid on game day because you don't know how it's going to work. Okay. As you get closer to go time, now you're at 1 to 2 hours before go time. Now we probably shouldn't really include much protein in. We shouldn't really include much fat. We really should rely on carb at that time. And you might have a buddy who can tolerate a yogurt and another buddy who cannot. So everybody is different in terms of what they can tolerate an hour before go time or 2 hours before go time. An hour before I run, I can eat a banana, my running partner can't. An hour before I run, I can have a yogurt, my running partner can't. So I know what I can tolerate, she knows what she can tolerate, and our guts have learned to tolerate different things. So point here is, all these things can really be portable, right? You put some waffles and make some waffles and pancakes, even if you're the kind that grill in the toaster, or you made them homemade. Parents, maybe made a bunch, put some in a baggie, and go. You can eat those without syrup, and they're a great source of carb. My son was on the swim team, and we would always pack those things. The team would count on me to pack them for their long swim prep tournaments that they had. So, carb 1 to 2 hours before. As we get even closer, less than an hour before, oftentimes what's tolerated is just liquid. And that is because food that you chew takes up all that space, and that jostling if you're running could make somebody cramp or feel uncomfortable. So when we get to less than an hour before, we might be dealing with a sport drink, just because it's tolerated better. So if you ate a few hours before, and now you're like at 15 minutes before, you're feeling like you need something, maybe just use a sport drink at that point. It's got good carb, it's got electrolyte. They are engineered to provide those 2 types of important ingredients, again, the carbohydrate and the electrolyte. And we'll talk more about those in a little bit. But again, we must train the gut. So we looked at before, from hours before to maybe an hour before to minutes before to now during. If you are practicing for greater than 1 hour, then we would want a carb electrolyte type something coming into the body, okay? So practicing for longer than an rep gains. Now we get into some fuel needing to come in. If you're just exercising for 45 minutes, water is fine. But if you're exercising for an hour and a half, 2 hours, you're depleting your gas tank of carb, so you might fatigue. So you might want to get some carbohydrate coming into the body to take care of that. And you're sweating, and you sweat out more sodium than that's the mineral you sweat out the most. So what you want to do is put some sodium back into the body. And that would be from a sport drink. Now some people don't want to do a sugar-containing sport drink, and so to get their carb during long duration activity, they might do something like orange slices. That's going to give you carb, it's going to actually hydrate, it's refreshing. It actually can give a mental boost, just because carb can do that. You could do dry fruit, but I mean, some athletes who don't tolerate that because it's pretty concentrated. Okay, so again, what does your gut tolerate? You train the gut. Or you can do a sport drink. Now, if you wanted to do the low sugar sport drink, that would give you the electrolyte you need. So you're going to have to get carb another way, and then maybe you do it with something like orange slices. If you did the regular sport drink that wasn't low sugar, that gives you the carb and the electrolyte you need. Okay, so we've talked about carb, protein, and fat, these 3 nutrients that give energy. We know how they contribute to being used during activity. We know lots of different sources now, and now we know how to time them around that sport. Let's look at hydration. Hydration is also very important before, during, and after. As a matter of fact, the American College of Sports Medicine says every athlete should enter activity in a state of euhydration, which is proper hydration. Dehydration can undo an athlete more than anything. If you are thirsty, you are already dehydrated. Thirst is a late indicator of dehydration. If you are thirsty, you are down 1 to 2% in body water. So we want to try to avoid that. We want to stay on top of hydration and always rehydrate after competition and play. So I like to have this slide up to show, look at your urine color to know if you're hydrated. We want the urine color to be above the red line. Pale yellow, something along those lines. The darker, and this would be a first morning urine. The darker that urine gets under that red line, that's dehydration. And you lose coordination, you lose concentration, muscles can't work, you actually become more catabolic and you're going to fatigue quicker. A lot can go wrong when we get into that dehydrated state, and certainly can get dangerous as well. So the idea is, well, what do I drink? Do I drink water or a sport drink? Well, we kind of defined that on the last slide. If you are working out for less than an hour, water. If you're working out for 60 minutes and more, you're going to need some electrolytes coming in the body. So you're going to want to do some kind of sports drink, and if it has sugar in it, that'll take care of the carb, and if you do the low sugar, find some carb sources that your gut can tolerate. Like the orange slices, for example. An example we have would be, okay, so before, maybe we're going to try to do 8 to 20 ounces an hour before of fluid, could be, and water. Really, those sports drinks are meant for during. Okay, because they're giving the electrolyte that you're sweating off. So before and after, you can go ahead and just have water. So we've got, water coming in beforehand. As we get closer to go time, a little less water, 4 to 8 ounces if you want. During, it might be 4 to 6 ounces every 15 minutes. On that last slide, you might have seen it says 1 ounce is like a gulp is about 1 ounce. So we can have athletes mark their water bottles to know how much they're getting in. Are they getting in that 4 ounces every 15 minutes? Every gulp is about 1 ounce. They can gauge it like that. Little tricks that we can do to ensure proper hydration. And then, for the American College of Sports Medicine, for every pound lost, an athlete should drink 3 cups of fluid. So let's say they weigh themselves before practice and they weigh themselves after practice. For every pound lost, 3 cups of fluid should be consumed. And again, ACSM says we've got to enter the next practice in a euhydrated state, properly hydrated state. Okay, so hydration is super important. As is, I'd say hydration and carb are the 2 most important things. Okay. Again, protein comes in afterwards for repair, and we don't want to be using that for energy. Now, we're going to talk about a couple minerals that athletes are at risk for not getting enough of. So when they asked me to give the talk, we talked about different ideas, and everything we've included in here are just the different little things we want to So calcium and iron seem to be two minerals that athletes, if they're going to be lacking in a mineral, these are the two we see lacking most. And they're lacking most in the girls compared to the boys, but it doesn't mean the boys, you can have some boys that are lacking as well. So iron what iron does is it carries oxygen to tissue. Okay, so it helps you feel. It doesn't give you energy, but it makes you feel like you have energy. Okay. And if you're not getting enough iron in, you might feel fatigued. So we don't want that to happen. Animal iron is best absorbed. So if you eat something like that steak, that's bloody iron. Well, iron's found in blood. So you eat something like that, you're going to get really good quality iron that's absorbed very well in the body. You eat other sources of meat like chicken and fish, you're going to get iron there too, just not as much. If you don't really eat meat and you eat more plant-based, which is fine, when you have your plant-based iron, like oatmeal or that total cereal you see up there, you'd want to couple that up with a vitamin C source, because vitamin C foods help keep that plant-based iron absorbable to the body. So if I have this oatmeal, or this total raisin, or this total cereal, which is going to have the amount of iron we need in a day, which girls is about 18 milligrams, then if I have that orange with that total cereal's got the plant iron, the orange has the vitamin C, and that vitamin C helps me absorb the plant iron better. Okay, so that's a little trick. If you're somebody who's a vegetarian, we do need about 1.8 times as much iron as a non-vegetarian. So if I said a female needs 18 milligrams a day, we multiply that by 1.8 to see what the vegetarian female would need. Other sources of iron up here, I've got beans. Beans are a good source of iron, and I also have that iron skillet. If you use an iron skillet to cook, it's interesting because the food you cook in that skillet will absorb some of that iron and increases the iron content of that food, especially the more acidic the food is that you cook in that skillet. So if you cook like spaghetti sauce in the skillet, it would really increase the iron content in that spaghetti sauce. So that's a little trick. So I'll show you some iron sources of food on the next slide. Okay, but we wanted to just mention, be aware of iron sources of food. Are the athletes, getting those if they're feeling fatigued, if they can't concentrate? You may want to start measuring some iron levels. There's an easy iron level we look at called ferritin, and a lot of athletes, actually different schools do look at that. And you can say, no, this athlete's not concentrating, their kind of grades are looking a little funny too, but they feel fatigued, they look a little pale, they're always cold. All that's adding up to me like ding, 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 ding. I might have somebody who's low in iron. So we can look at that iron level and see. Calcium, the other nutrient that is at risk with athletes to not get enough of in, and again, women are more at risk than men, is calcium. And women of teenage years need about 1,300 milligrams of calcium a day. I also put 1,500 milligrams up here because if a female has lost her menstrual cycle due to sport, which is never okay, we're going to talk about that, the practice papers would all say that we need to make sure she's getting in actually 1,500 milligrams of calcium a day. Because what that means, and we'll look at it on the next slide, if she's not getting in enough calories, her bone building hormones are going to be depressed, and then that could lead to early osteoporosis. We don't want that to happen. So while we're trying to resolve that whole problem, we got to up the calcium intake. Okay. But I put some calcium foods up there. So there's our good old friend, the chocolate milk. I keep saying because it's got the protein and the carb in it, but it also has good amounts of calcium. And again, you could do soy milk, you could do almond milk to get that calcium as well. Get into cow's milk. We got a yogurt here. You can do almond yogurt and soy yogurt as well. We've got this orange juice here. Maybe somebody doesn't tolerate much dairy, don't really like the substitutes. The orange juice with the blue label on it like that, they have fortified the orange juice with calcium. So you can have a cup of that orange juice and get what you would in a cup of milk. So it's a great substitution. And of course we have dairy. I've got the silk up here as well. So again, just trying to emphasize on all of my slides that we can get these nutrients from food. When we just see the variety that these nutrients come in and identify which ones we would tolerate. So here's some iron sources. Again, that 18 milligram marker for girls. A lot of those cereals, they're going to have, they're going to have what we need, those cereals, because the cereal manufacturers fortify, and I mean like healthy cereals, I like Total cereal, for example. They're going to fortify cereals with that iron. But again, you want to couple that up with vitamin C because it's a plant-based Iron. Calcium sources are here. You're going to see a lot of times those dairy are the most abundant amounts of calcium that you get, unless we're dealing with some of those fortified foods. So those are the two micronutrients, meaning small nutrients that the athletes need to be paying attention to. And then we have this side. So now we're moving away from all the nutrients and water, and we're talking about what happens when there's an energy deficit. What if I'm not getting enough calories from carb, protein, and fat? How does that affect the athlete? And once upon a time, we focused on the female only. And we call this thing the female athlete triad. And that's what this triangle is right here. It's the triad. It starts here in the middle, relative energy deficiency in sport, REDS. REDS has replaced the terminology female athlete triad. And REDS means, for some reason, I'm not eating enough calories. Is it because I just don't know how many calories I need? I don't know, say I'm an athlete, I'm exercising, 5,000 calories a day. So we educate, and we can educate the athlete, develop a meal plan with them, look at their preferences, look at all these ideas, and get them up to what they need and correct the problem. Is it a fear that the athlete doesn't want to eat enough calories? Well, that's something else that the medical team would need to look at. But what we want to try to do is get in enough energy. Energy means calories. If I don't get in enough calories, what happens in the female, specifically, is the bone-building hormones are depressed. And because the bone-building hormone, estrogen, is depressed, bone health becomes at risk for early osteoporosis. So you start seeing a bunch of fractures, a bunch of kids on the sideline with fractures. That's a problem. We need to start looking at energy that they're taking in. And because the hormones are depressed, menstrual cycle also halts or becomes long periods of time in between cycles. And that's not okay. We don't lose our period because of sport. We lose it from inadequate calorie intake. And so we have to get to the root of the problem and correct calorie intake. So this is why the position papers say if a female is not menstruating, she needs to get 1,500 milligrams of calcium in while we're trying to figure out the root of the problem. Okay. Now, we can't leave out men, which is why REDS replaces female athlete triad, because every other problem here applies to men as well. If they are energy deficient, then they can have their bone health affected, they can have their endocrine system affected, metabolism, blood system, growth and development, psychological factors, cardiovascular, gastrointestinal, and immune system. All of our body systems are affected when we don't have adequate nutrients coming into the body. And so REDS really replaces the female athlete triad because it embeds the triad within REDS, because REDS affects men too. We used to just not talk about what happens when men don't get enough calories. A lot. Every body system is affected. And on this slide, this is REDS showing us what are the performance consequences when adequate calories are not ingested. And so we're going to have decreased endurance performance, both anaerobic endurance and aerobic endurance performance will be depressed when we don't have enough calories. I'm going to be at risk for injury, decreased training response, and decreased muscle. I don't have enough calories coming in, I'm going to start to use protein for fuel. So that muscle I'm trying to build to keep me strong, prevent injury, is actually now being used for fuel on my worst enemy. Okay? So when we don't get enough calories, these are the things that happen. We also have decreased carbohydrate stores in the body, depression, irritability, decreased concentration, coordination, and judgment. So when you start to see your athletes kind of making some mistakes they don't normally make, they can't concentrate, they're not coordinated, they're kind of losing that skill, we got to take a look at what is going on. Okay, it could be a lot of things. It could be sleep, it could be life things, but it also could be nutrition related. We need to look at that. So we got to get all these calories in, we got to get all these nutrients in. It's got to start with breakfast. We can't skip breakfast, like you're just not allowed. Not allowed to skip breakfast. And so even though you say we don't have enough time, we'll find something that's portable and quick that you can literally eat while you're walking, that kind of a thing. And so why do we want to eat breakfast? It will benefit your performance at the end of the day if you ate breakfast at the top of the day. Why? Because it's helping you meet your calorie needs. It's contributing food, and food gives calories to the day. So it's helping meet those daily calorie needs. It's helping meet those daily nutrient needs. It's helping you have some of that gas tank full for training and for competition. Help you have some of that gas tank full so you don't peter out in the fourth quarter. And certainly going to help improve concentration. And we also know that breakfast helps you do better in math and reading in school. That's proven. Breakfast is break the fast. When you sleep at night, you actually break down your stored carb, because carb is to a human like caffeine is to a car, and different parts of the body are using it all day long. Your red blood cells can only use it, and so while you're sleeping, your body's using it. So you gotta get up and you gotta eat to store that gas tank. So I tried to put some practical, easy, quick breakfast ideas to help when you are in a time crunch, okay? And some students will say, you know what, I just feel nauseous if I eat breakfast. I would do better if I drank something. Okay, have some chocolate milk or have some Carnation instant breakfast. Otherwise, we're trying for food, but I understand sometimes the liquid is better tolerated, but something's better than nothing. And while, yeah, you can do these traditional ideas I have over there, but you want to eat a piece of pizza, eat a piece of pizza. You want to have some chicken and mashed potato or sweet potato from the night before, have at it. It can be a non-traditional breakfast as long as something is there. If you want to do hummus and veggies, have a 2/3 cup of hummus or more, and that's going to be great fiber in there, great plant protein in there, and your veggies are going to give you fiber to fill you up as well. So you can be creative with breakfast. Doesn't have to be traditional sit-down type breakfast. And in terms of then, what do you take to school? Well, any of these portable items we're talking about can go in the lunch, can go in your locker. A portable fruit can go in the locker, veggies can go in the locker, fig bars can go in the locker, peanut butter bagel can go in the locker. If you have a lunchbox, which I'll have on the next slides, that has a cold pack in it, you can have Greek yogurt in the locker, you can have cottage cheese in the locker, you can have a turkey sandwich in the locker. So you can have hard-boiled eggs. So we have to get a little creative. We have to plan ahead. It's not just portability that's key, it's planning ahead that's key. In the cafeteria, you know what? If you got a big game after school, I would say you should maybe eat 2 lunches. Maybe you should buy a lunch and pack a lunch if you don't want to eat 2 lunches. Double up your portions at lunch. Something along those lines if you don't have time to eat after lunch. If you only have time to have a little bit of a sport drink after school before go time. So you eat more at school when you can. And then I have up here just healthy snacks that you can have portable, keep in your locker. Again, there's the full lunch box that I purposely put on the slide so that we can get creative. 13 sources are listed here that might be easy to have available when you're on a busy day. And carbohydrate sources are over here. You can marry them up, like for example, that peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay, so again, you can see we got all these things. There's carbohydrate from the fruit, there's some hummus and veggies. So we got protein in some carb, we've got a banana in the carb, we've got healthy fat there with nuts, and that's sustainable energy right there. That helps you feel full for a while. And then that peanut butter bagel, for example. So again, trying to just pick really practical, portable items that a lot of us already have in our house. But no matter what, whatever you eat and drink, as I said before, during practice is how you have to eat and drink when you play. Because if you try a new food or a sport drink or something like that on game day, and it doesn't agree with you, that will undo your performance. And the whole purpose of you eating was to improve your performance. So I really recommend that figuring out how to, what foods and beverages work for you and train that gut on practice days. This is a great tool. Many of you probably have seen this from health class. myplate.gov, if you go to that website, it is a multi-layered website, and it has areas for adults, for teenagers, for preschoolers, for toddlers, like all different age groups. And you can click on your appropriate age group, and you can navigate around to a place where you can enter in your age, your height, your weight, and your activity level. And it will literally develop a meal plan for you, and it will tell you how many servings do you need from each of these food groups to support your age, your weight, your activity. So it is also a multi-layered website in terms of the resources it has. It has tip sheets on healthy snacks, healthy meals, ways to be active, like all kinds of resources. Maybe if you get on that website and have some time and play around, it's like having a dietitian at your fingertips, really, plus a lot of other educational resources for you. They even have like reproducible coloring sheets and fun little things that you can utilize. So that's the general plate that we use to educate. And one thing you'll see about this plate is half of it is fruits and veggies. And for the average person, we want half the plate to be fruits and veggies. It provides fiber to fill you up, which helps control appetite. It provides all kinds of vitamins and minerals and antioxidants to prevent disease. So it's good. But when we get to our athlete who's real active, look what happens to the plate. So all of a sudden, half the plate isn't fruits and veggies on a hard training and practice day. Half the plate becomes carb. Grains, like dense carb. Over here, on an easy training day, maybe we're just doing some skill set training, half that plate's going to look like that fruit and vegetable. We get into a little more heavy training day. You can see that I have a little less vegetable here showing up on that plate and more starchy stuff. Because carb is to a human like gasoline is to a car. And when I get into a day that I am practicing two-a-days, long days, sweaty days, humid days, half that plate becomes that starchy stuff. Carb is to a human like gasoline is to a car. These are the kind of athlete plates that the International Olympic Committee uses to educate. Last thing I want to talk about are supplements. I told you we threw a lot of different things in. We're like, oh, let's try to hit lots of little topics. Food first, as I already said. When you eat food, you get a variety of nutrients, whether it's fiber, whether it's phytochemicals that are literally medicinal to prevent disease, whether it's antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, other macronutrients. You get all kinds of nutrients when you eat the food. When you take a supplement, you get literally whatever they say is in the supplement and not all those other wonderful things. And you might not even get what's in the supplement because the supplement industry isn't regulated. And so the supplement can say it has something in it, but it might not. When the International Olympic Committee has looked at supplements, they have found 0% of the claimed ingredient to 200% of the claimed ingredient. So what we say is food first, because a supplement will not make up for a poor diet. A supplement may displace the opportunity to get valuable nutrients. And as I said, that supplement world is not regulated. Now, if you see this label over here that I'm circling, it says USP, that's the United States Pharmacopoeia. So you might have seen a commercial for Nature Made vitamins, and they have the USP label on their vitamins, and they market that because that's a group of scientists who are voluntarily asked to look at a supplement and determine if it has integrity, which means what they say is in it, is in it. So if it has 500 milligrams of calcium in it, it does. And that it's pure, it's not contaminated. And that it dissolves in the body and is absorbable. And that it's made in a safe manufacturing practice way. So the USP investigates for all those wonderful things, and if the supplement manufacturer meets those standards, they put their seal of approval. You'll never see that on like a muscle-building supplement, because the USP is not going to be asked to investigate those. But you might see that on a vitamin. You might see a national certified NSF for sport, little circle on a supplement, and I have an app on my phone for NSF for sport, that if an athlete's taking something, first of all, I believe in food first. So we'll look at the efficacy and the safety behind it, and then I'll plug it into my app as well, and that app will tell me if it's pure or if it's something that could cause an athlete to test positive for doping, because it is contaminated with something. And the next one here is informed choice, which has a green check mark. A lot of people are familiar with that one. These are different labels that you might see on a product that would give you the indication that this one is safe. Otherwise, food first. And when we look at this example, which is from Drug-Free Sport, I'm on a lot of listservs, and this came through one of my listservs. It's a wonderful education piece. It shows a 4-ounce piece of chicken, which is about the size of a deck of cards. And that chicken gives you 28 grams of protein. That's pretty good. And it also gives you these branched-chain amino acids, isoleucine, leucine, and valine. Pretty large amounts. Isoleucine at 1698 milligrams, leucine at 2864, and valine at 1792. I take this supplement, this big amino acid supplement that's marketed to me to buy. It's got no protein in it. It's got less than 2 grams because it's just an amino acid supplement. And then it only has 194 milligrams of this branched-chain amino acid isoleucine versus 1,698. It only has 347 of leucine versus 2,864 in the chicken. And it only has 189 of valine versus 1,792 in the chicken. So what good is this? Other than it costs me money, and I think it's going to make my muscles bigger or something. But it isn't. So this is just a really good example of food first. the amount of those branched-chain amino acids and other amino acids and other properties and nutrients in food are really abundant in the food we eat. So I hope through this presentation you have learned something new. I hope you gained a great appreciation for that master fuel carb and how that's used in sport along with fat, and then how protein is used to repair and rebuild and how we are protein. I hope you gained a little bit of knowledge on the timing of nutrients around sport and the importance of hydration as well. Took a little glance at those minerals that could be lacking and got some ideas to include more. And understand the need to get enough energy in, both as a male and female, and how that can impair performance if we don't get enough energy in. Hope you got a lot of ideas to include enough energy, and appreciate the value of food over supplement. So thank you very much.